Hello, this is Jonathan from Mindfix Acupuncture. I'm working in the Cherry Tree Centre in Buckhurst Hill. Just a quick word on fertility. I saw Facebook that I'm on these fertility pages, and they were talking about people with fertility issues and how you can cleanse the body of fibroids, or how you can cleanse the body of endometriosis. And it was very strange to me. I was like, well, is that possible? Okay, on one hand, you can cleanse the body. There are products you can take that will cleanse the body, but they don't work in that way that people are explaining. So there was one point someone said, Dr. Zuma can help you. If you take this herb, it will melt your fibroids away. Okay, so for instance, say if Dr. Zuma's product really worked, it melted the fibroids away, what's going to happen? It's just going to come back, right? Because behind that, the mechanism's still there. So the mechanism is there to create the problem again. So whether it's endometriosis, whether it's polycystic ovaries, whether it's fibroids, you name it, I'm not saying they're the same condition, but the mechanism behind the condition is always the same. Okay, in males, you won't really see it, but obviously because of the uterus and stuff, but in females and the ovaries, you'll see it more. The females produce estrogen from the ovaries, also from their cells. Males produce from the cells as well, but in females it creates a female shape, so it creates breast tissue, it creates the hip shape, the not fat, but I say the shape around the side, right? And when you see it in males, you start to see breasts. So men have moobs. So a guy in the clinic takes his top off. If I see he has moobs, I know for a fact that his diet's too high in estrogen, or something's happened with estrogen. Maybe his liver's not functioning that well to clean the estrogen out. So from my take, if I want to get rid of this, if I want to get rid of fibroids, endometriosis, or polycystic ovaries, I definitely want to look at that person's diet, and I want to clean it up. I want them to have a more natural diet. So I want it to be meat, fats, and I want carbohydrates, but I don't want any. I'll get them to avoid processed carbohydrates, and I'll get them to avoid all things with chemicals in it. So I don't want any like conventional raised vegetables. I want all organic vegetables. And even the meats, I've got to look at the quality of meats, where they're coming from. Are they running around, they're happy, not pumped full of stuff? This is the type of foods I want them to eat. If they don't eat meat and they're vegan, and they then I'm not saying it's harder. They can have a different type of diet, but I'm all based in the diet not on getting them to eat better. The diet I'm giving them is to get organs in the body to function better. So one organ that functions to clean your estrogen out in the system is your liver. And if that's not functioning that well, or it's got too much to do, so say if it's got other chemicals to clean, then it's not going to clean out the excess estrogen or estrogen out of the body. So generally those conditions are endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, you name it, they're all to do with your estrogen in your body. And it's not only to do with your own estrogen, it's to do with what is produced. So from plastics, they're going to come from chemicals from when we spray food, they come from those chemicals. They're also going to come from your water supply. So when you put the toilet duct down the toilet, and you flush the toilet, and it goes around, it gets circulated, it comes back, all that's left, all the bacteria are killed, but we're left with water full of hormones. So when you drink it, it just causes an imbalance in your system. And the estrogen and progesterone balance definitely needs to be balanced when you're trying to conceive, because if it's off kilter, then it's just going to be harder to conceive. So a lot of it is balance as well. And you find it harder to conceive, obviously, if they've got fibroids. It's literally not impossible, but your body wants to deal with that first before it actually tries to get you to conceive. It feels that getting the disease out of the system is more important than actually giving you a baby. So my take, I would definitely acupuncture is to help with the pain, okay, and it's also to help with getting someone to relax, getting someone to You know, when you're not relaxed, your system's like stagnant, it's stuck, right? So I want to get the system to function, relax. I want to make things less painful, but then I want to change that person's diet, not based on diet. I don't just want to go, here's a diet, eat it, because that doesn't mean anything. I want to base a diet on what organs I need to function. So if I need a certain organ to function, then I want to give that person certain foods that helps their organ to function a lot better, in order to clean out the estrogen out the diet. And then when the estrogen is cleansed, then you start seeing the fibroids decrease, and you start seeing, you know, the endometriosis decrease. But it will get worse when you eat certain foods, or in certain weather, because it's just the estrogen that you're having in those foods might create it. In weather, it just might be a certain condition. It might be when it's cold, it just puts more pressure on the system. So yeah, definitely if I'm going to deal with that, I have to look at that person's diet as a whole. But I'm going to try to not just go, here's a diet, eat some pasta, because that's not going to help. Pasta will make it worse, right? I want to get that as clean as possible, and I want to give them a certain type of diet based on how to get certain organs functioning that cleanse the system properly. They're not functioning, you can forget it, okay? Anyway, if that made sense, without giving you too much information, because if I do give you information, what people do is they go away and try it, and it doesn't work, because you can't live badly and then take supplements, because it just doesn't work like that. There's no effect. That supplement cannot outweigh how badly you're living. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be a big change of everything. So your diet, your lifestyle. I mean, from it you'll feel better. Your mind will feel better. You won't feel stressed. You know, everything will function better. You'll feel like yourself. But naturally, humans have gone so far away from our natural diet that it's unbelievable. We're not eating the foods that we would have eaten 100 years ago. We're eating, you know, a chemically laden processed food diet that's not for our system, and we will never function on that. We'll always be in a state of disease when we're on these diets. So that's the case, and that's what's happening now. Also, another thing, just last thing, you'll see things like endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, worse in black women, because black women have higher estrogen levels, and you can tell that as well just by looking by the shape. So I said it creates a female shape. So now you've got black women with bigger bums, you know, they're more curvy. That's because of the excess estrogen level. So you'll find that they will suffer from fibroids or endometriosis. They'll suffer from it a lot worse. And also what happens with black women is that they tend to eat, I'm not saying, they all tend to eat diets that are very high in refined carbohydrates and fat, refined fats. So that just adds more estrogen to the system. So they're in a perpetual state of, you know, being in disease, because they don't know how to fix it. They don't realize that their diet is creating the issue. So I've never seen black women with endometriosis or polycystic ovaries with a clean diet. I've never seen it. It's non-existent, and it's very hard. You know, I say white women generally eat a lot cleaner, just because of the way their parents are brought up on like vegetables, meat and veg, and it's still in there even though the diet's changed. But black people and women tend to have rice, chicken, sunflower oil, and these are all the things that are creating the issue. All right, so it definitely needs to clean up the diet, and you know, obviously it depends on your color. It's going to be more worse, and it'll have a little thing to do with inflammation, so vitamin D levels, etc. But really, just it's complicated and it's easy. So if you need some help, just send me a link and we'll have a chat.